it's Marian here. Welcome to my home and my kitchen. In today's video, I am sharing 5 of my favorite Rosh Hashanah recipes, so I hope that you love them. Most of them are very easy, although there's 1 or 2 that are a bit more advanced, but I know you guys are gonna love them for Rosh Hashanah, so let me know in the comments below if you'll be making any of them, and feel free to share any of your favorite Rosh Hashanah recipes if you want me to try them out. So let's jump into the recipes. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Marian. I make videos about being a mom and being a Jewish mom, and I'd love to have you as one of my subscribers. So hit that thumbs up button if you like this video, and don't forget to hit the red subscribe button down below because it really helps my channel. Okay, let's jump in. So let's start with a new favorite of mine, and these are Rosh Hashanah apple honey peanut butter bars. They're a perfect kids recipe, but I'm not gonna lie, I ate a lot of these after I made them. They are so good. So you just start with some Cheerios. This recipe could not be easier, but I will say that depending on the texture or like the way your peanut butter is, you might need to adjust here and there just to make the bars stick together. So all you need is apples. All you need is honey, peanut butter, and Cheerios to make the bars. That's it. You just mix everything together and put it in the refrigerator. I will put the exact ingredient amounts below, but what I discovered is my peanut butter that I happened to be using that day was of a very thick consistency. It wasn't like the smooth natural one. So I needed to double the peanut butter and double the honey to get it to really stick together. So just judge based on your peanut butter basically. But yeah, you just mix those 3 ingredients together and then put them in a baking tin. My baking tins are the Caraway ones. They're non-stick. If you don't have a non-stick baking tin, then just spray it with some cooking spray or put foil on the bottom. They'll come out either way, but just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, and then for the topping, so you refrigerate those bars, and then all you have to do is cut up apples. And the combination, I'm not kidding you guys, I'm starting with this recipe because it's so good. The combination of the honey, peanut butter, Cheerios, and apples is just perfection. It's so, so good. So you basically put the bars in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes so that they set. When they come out, you're just gonna slice them up and top them with apples and serve. They were so good. If you don't wanna serve them right away, you can absolutely keep them in the fridge and then just top them with the apples when you're ready to serve them. Speaking of apples, my next recipe is a simple as pie apple pie. It just does not get easier. So I am using my spiralizer. I take it out for Rosh Hashanah every year. I'm going to be using it in the next recipe as well, but you don't need to have a spiralizer to make apple pie. It just makes the cutting process easier, and it's fun. So when we came home from apple picking, I took a lot of my apples and just spiralized them, and it makes for a really even and thin cut apples for the pie, which I do recommend. I feel like they cook a lot better and cook all the way through when they are all the same width and when they're all fairly thin. So I just put them in the spiralizer and then I just chop them all in half to sort of break the spiral. And then all you need to add is some flour, cornstarch, cinnamon, allspice, pumpkin pie spice, and sugar. The cinnamon and allspice are optional or to your own taste, but I use a bunch of the spices. I really like it to have that full flavor. You can also add some vanilla, but the key is to have flour and cornstarch to soak up all the juice of the apple, and then a little bit of sugar and a little bit of something like cinnamon to make it sweet. Okay, and then for the pie, I just use store-bought crust. If you've watched my channel, you know that I like to make things simple and easy, and I like to skip to the fun part, skip to the good part, which to me is eating the pie and using all those delicious apples from apple picking. So yeah, I have made my own pie crust in the past. I have a delicious recipe, but it takes a lot longer and makes the kitchen a lot messier, which is what we're trying to avoid here. So yeah, so I just use the store-bought one, and I use it to top a second pie crust that it comes with to top it as well. Just make sure to cut a slit in the top. I like doing a four cut pattern. I feel like that's the traditional apple pie way. And then just bake it up. I have this really nifty thing that protects the edges of the pie so they don't burn and the apples get a chance to cook all the way through. And it is absolutely delicious, y'all. Apple pie for Rosh Hashanah is such a classic fall recipe. It leaves your home smelling amazing. Okay, and while we're talking amazing smelling desserts, of course I'm going to tell you about my honey cake. This is the best recipe. I'm not kidding you guys, I make it all the time, and the secret recipe is that whiskey you just saw me put in. Whiskey and coffee. It's got this rich, delicious, layered type of flavor. The original recipe is from Smitten Kitchen, the famous blog, and it is so, so good. And my little tip and trick to make it extra special for Rosh Hashanah is to use the silicone honeycomb mold. It makes it so fun and special. And then each little cake can be served individually to your guests, and it is so good, so moist. Okay, and now we're moving on to the showstopper, my apple roses cake. I've shared this recipe on YouTube before, and I have a few little adjustments. So basically you're going to spiralize your apples, get that spiralizer out, and boil them for 2 minutes each. And what this does is it softens them enough that you can twirl and twist them into roses. So you boil them for 2 minutes till they're softened. This is what they'll look like. Take them out. You don't want them to totally overcook. And then what you're going to do is, it takes a little bit of practice. And what I'm showing you here is the honesty of my journey. So this is rose number 1. As you'll see, I'm like just fiddling around here trying to figure it out. You're taking the spiral that already exists and twisting it to make it into a rose shape, and then putting it in a cupcake pan. So my first few are a bit messy and imperfect, but like a natural rose garden, it will all come together in the end, and it's totally fine for each one to look homemade. But you'll kind of see as I went along, I figured it out. My tip that I sort of came away with is to cut each apple in 2, so each spiral is not too long, and sort of open it up and then twist it inwards. Those are my 2 tips to help, but honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, it'll look amazing once they're all on the cake. You have to use a lot of apples to really fill the top of the cake. That's the secret to making it look like a beautiful rose garden. And then each individual one, imperfect as it may be, doesn't matter. But basically, yes, once you've boiled your apple, break that spiral in 2, roll it out, and then twist it up. The other thing I did this time is I used a normal size cupcake tin as well as mini cupcake tins. For the mini ones, I just, again, cut the spirals in like 2 or 3 maybe, and it created all these like little tiny roses, which looked really pretty and were even easier to twist and without, showing any imperfections. So this is what they all look like when they're done. And you're going to bake these in the oven at 400 for about 20 minutes, just till some of their juice comes off and they crisp up. This is my new tip this year. When I originally made this cake, I baked them all together, and that moisture was just a little too much for the cake itself. It made the cake really difficult to cook all the way through because there's just too much water going on. So what I do now is I bake the apple roses first, and I partially bake the cake first. You want it to be baked up, but to still be slightly undercooked, so that when you take all the cooked apples and place them on top, you'll put it back in the oven for another 10 minutes and then it will fully set. So this is how it looks. I use a springform pan to get that beautiful edging, and I just use a plain vanilla cake recipe, which I'll share below. And look at that. That's how it comes out looking. I can't get over it. I must have photographed this beauty for 20 minutes, and I have no regrets about that. I took out my video camera, my phone. I was like, the world needs to see it. She's so pretty. Okay, and she was also delicious. And now I'm going to end with the most important recipe for Rosh Hashanah, dare I say it, and that is a round challah. So this is my traditional challah recipe. I will put all the details below so you have it very clearly written out. It is so easy, I promise you. If you haven't made challah at home before, I really encourage you to give it a try. And what you're going to see me doing here is actually kneading and mixing the dough by hand. This was the week that my KitchenAid was out for the count. But what I love about the fact that I filmed it is just to show you guys that you do not need fancy kitchen gadgets. You can just do this by hand. It's a simple recipe, like I said. It takes about 10 minutes to get it all together. And then just make sure to knead it well so all the ingredients come together: the yeast, the water, the flour, the eggs, the sugar, the oil. And once you have it all together, you're going to let it rise, and then I will show you how to do the round challah braid for Rosh Hashanah, but I have a surprise twist for that, so stay tuned. So for your traditional round challah, my other little tip here is to put a little piece of foil underneath so that the center pops up. It makes it just look more full and beautiful, in my opinion. So this is what they look like out of the oven, all baked up and ready to eat, and they're so delicious. You just want to make sure that the center is cooked in a round challah because of that tight braiding in the middle. You just want to be sure of that. So just flip them upside down and check before you finish baking. Okay, and now ready for the surprise? It's blue. I made a blue half sesame seed challah. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute, for Rosh Hashanah this year, and I absolutely loved it. I think it was possibly a little too blue for what I was going for. I was going for a light blue, but I'm going to show you how to do this really amazing round challah twist with 8 strands. So if you're doing 4, if you're doing 8, it really doesn't matter because you're just going to use 2 together to make the 8 strand, if that makes sense. Also, I apologize that my hands turned blue during the filming of this, but basically you cut your challah dough into 8 even pieces and then roll them out. Then take half of them, 4 of them, and roll them in sesame seeds, and you're going to create this beautiful design by having 1 plain and 1 sesame strand next to each other. I'll show you how it looks. So you make a crisscross pattern remember, we're using 2 strands as 1, so we're keeping them together. Over, under in a cross pattern, and then the way to braid a round challah is you take each piece and put it over the one next to it, working in a clockwise direction. And once you've gone all the way around, so each piece has gone over its neighbor, you're just going to go backwards in a counterclockwise direction. And you really only need to go around once or twice to make a round challah all the way. So it's not complicated is what I try to tell people. Just go around once clockwise, around counterclockwise, and then you're just going to tuck in the edges underneath and bake it. That's it. So right now, as you can see, my pattern has already come together. It's already enough of a circle. I just tuck in the bottoms, or you could cut off the bottoms, but I think it's prettier to tuck them in. Don't forget to pop that foil in the middle to make it puff up in the center, and that's it. How cool does that look? So that is an 8 strand challah baked up for Rosh Hashanah. I use blue just for fun, but of course you can do it with the regular one. So that's it, 5 of my favorite Rosh Hashanah recipes. I hope you guys like this video. Before I go, I just want to remind you, my Jewish holiday calendar is for sale on Etsy, so don't forget to grab your copy. It's just a digital download. All right, see you in the next one. Bye.